Skip it up and that up. Sweet hirsute man nipples, Richard. Where is the Hapog intro? Well, this isn't being recorded with the Hapog. This is being recorded with the Live Gamer Portable. I was sent a review unit from AverMedia, and I've been using it all weekend. I don't feel comfortable enough to give a review yet. I thought I was going to be able to get one out this weekend. I got to email the guy who sent me one and let him know. But I've used it quite a bit, and there's a lot of things I like about it. There's even some things I like about it better than the Hapog HD PVR2, and there's some things that I don't like about it, and I'll get into that with my review. But it's a very stable capture card. It's small. It's impressive what this thing can do for the size. But anyway, that's not why we're here. We're here to watch me play BioShock 3 badly, because when you go from one first-person shooter to another, like, your brain has to resync with the new one. Like, for example, I used the, whatever the hell the love potion is on that guy, and then I started shooting him like an idiot. Anyway, that's not why we're here. Enjoy the footage. There was a video I saw on Gamester81's website. I'm a big fan of Gamester81. I've known him since we were both itty bitty channels, and I think he's a really nice guy, very down to earth, very grounded, and he does great videos. He's been doing them just as long as I have, almost. But he had one up, and it wasn't made by him, of this guy who actually liked the guy who made the video. I'm actually sub to his channel, even though I didn't agree with him at all, saying that there is a logo going around from SEGA called the SEGA Spectrum. I'll have a link to his video below, and in his video, he has a link to the website showing the SEGA Spectrum logo. And basically what his video was about is he thinks that maybe there's a chance this is Sega coming back into the console market, and how great it would be because Sega was the only person who really gave Nintendo competition, and maybe Sega will be the one to innovate like Nintendo did in the 80s and bring, you know, the whole industry back to its glory. And it was pretty much, that was what the video was about. I'm here to kind of dash those dreams, crush his hopes of there being a new console. Not because I'm a dick, I'm going to give you a reality check. Now, I tried to do some research on this. I tried to look up what a console actually costs to develop, and I couldn't find anything. I know someone in the comment section is going to prove me wrong and find it in 30 seconds, but I did actually look for like a couple hours last night and couldn't find anything, maybe because I'm an idiot. But I do know enough from reading in the past that I could give generalized numbers off the top of my head and tell you why there's not a chance in hell that Sega is going to make a new console. The first thing is, Sega is just really a vanity name now. They were bought by a company called Sammy, who also makes slot machines, so on and so forth. Sega really is just a name. What Sega was is no more. It's all but dead. They're really just a developer and publisher that has nothing to do with the Sega that brought us the Genesis and the Dreamcast. They're not the same company, which in some ways may be a good thing, especially how disastrous they handled things later in life when Sega was still a console maker. But that's first and foremost. Sega is just a logo. The only thing the same about Sega is the damn logo, okay? Secondly, consoles cost a shitload to research and develop. I mean, the cell processor alone was like, and I couldn't find anything on this either, was like a couple $100 million to develop. Sega as a whole, or I think maybe even Sega Sammy, is worth $4.7 billion. Combine the research and development to create a console, the exclusives they would have to make, the games that would have to be developed, all the other hardware that would have to be put into making a console, the advertising, all the other crap they would have to do, localizing, the console for different regions. I could go on and on and on and on and on. They would go bankrupt. They do not have the cash, the funds to make a console. It costs way too much money to do so. Third, and probably the biggest thing, is that people are questioning if this is the last generation of consoles to begin with. It's such a different market now than when Sega left. When Sega left with the Dreamcast, consoles were what you needed to beat. Now it's people are wondering if consoles are even going to exist anymore. People are wondering if friggin' gaming PCs are even going to exist anymore. It's no one knows where the industry is going, and to make a mainstream. I mean, you could say the Ouya, but I have my doubts about the Ouya too. You could say the Ouya is coming out, but the Ouya is a much smaller, it's kind of like they're making it as an alternative. They aren't coming out to mess with the big boys, which maybe Sega's doing that, but it just wouldn't make any sense. If Sega was, which I almost guarantee that they're not, if Sega was, they would have to come out and compete on a grand scale, is what they would, at least is what I would think they would want to do. To bring out something like the Ouya, I mean, the Ouya is almost like DOA. I was a big fan of it. I was drinking the Ouya Kool-Aid hard, but you know what? Especially after I bought tablets, I just don't see the point of the Ouya anymore. At first I was like, maybe because I didn't wrap my mind around the whole Android tablet thing until I owned one. But it was like, this is a console that's an alternative, but the tablets already are that. It was funny. I was playing the Conduit HD. I'm kind of going off subject here, but whatever. It's an important point I'm trying to make. I bought a cheap $9.99, okay, decent gamepad from GameStop Bluetooth. Got the Conduit HD for $4.99. It's the same game that they had on the Wii. It's a pretty decent first-person shooter. I had my tablet hooked up to my TV via HDMI, and I was sitting on a chair playing Conduit HD, and the buttons were already pre-programmed in the right spots. So to come out with, my point being is that I think the Ouya is in trouble, and for Sega to come out with an Ouya-esque console would be ridiculous too. So there's no reason it's just not the right time for any company, no matter how much cash reserves they have, to come out with a console, let alone Sega, who it would put them under. Look, man, I get it. I understand. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. That whole story that I had in my first video about my Sega versus Nintendo, or the Genesis versus Super Nintendo, that was all true. I remember coming home I would go with my buddy Tom, and we would go look for crayfish and stuff like that. We were out the whole day, sweaty and exhausted, and I would come back and play Truxton on the Sega Genesis. I played Strider all summer of 1991. I had a Sega CD for Christmas when they first came out. I bought a Saturn, actually, when the Saturn started dying, with a Japanese copy of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. The game was mint and the console was mint. That is one that I regret selling. Anyway, I had a Dreamcast day one. I loved Sega. I had great memories surrounding my childhood with my friends playing Sonic the Hedgehog and Streets of Rage 1 and 2, and I could go on and on. I'm going on a ramble right now, but I get it. It's a romantic idea, and you feel like if Sega came back, those fantastic memories from like the 80s and 90s would come back too. But it's just a name. The people are gone, most of them anyway, if not all of them. They're all gone. Sega isn't Sega anymore. And it wouldn't change anything in the industry if they came back. And they just financially cannot do it anyway. It would be nice, people, but it's time to move on. This is Richard, Review Tech USA, signing out.